And I believe we are live. Greetings, YouTubes. I'm here with the Horror Club to chat about the next installment of American Horror Story. If you're wondering where the first 4 episodes are, they are on Fandom D Saint's channel. There's a link in the description. You guys can go there, check it out, and I'll add it to a playlist at some point tonight for easy finding. Welcome to our folks in the chat. We got Cameo joining us so far. And, my two comrades here, Andy and David, are in the spot. So let me let the gentlemen introduce each other. Little brother, you go ahead and start first. Tell the people who you are, where they can find you, and what you do.
Hey, all Fandom D here, getting ready to talk about episode 5 to 7 of American Horror Story. It dawned on me after watching episode 100 that it was literally the 100th episode because I was like way behind. I didn't know like which episode was which. And I just thought episode 100 was something related to a number 100. And then at the end of the episode, I'm like, what was the 100 stand for? And then when I was watching like Gray Areas video, she was like, oh yeah, episode 100. I'm like, oh, okay. So let's get to this.
I'm gonna need you to get that all the way together, young man.
It didn't even feel like an episode 100 though.
Admittedly though, they did hype up the 100th episode, and there really wasn't a whole lot of hype going on in the episode itself. But we'll get to that later. Fat Dingo, say hello to the folks this evening.
Yes, g'day YouTubers and AK and Fandom. Thanks for doing another American Horror Story stream with me. As you guys know, it's probably my one of my favorite shows on TV. Now Game of Thrones has obviously ended, and we can put the horrible season 8 behind us. But anyway, we're here to talk about American Horror Story today, and I hope you guys enjoy our conversation, what we have to talk about with each 5, 6, and 7, and getting on to episode 100. I would have to say with you guys, it was all sizzle and no steak kind of thing. Like they kind of hyped it up and they didn't deliver anything, but I think we also had a lot of high expectations going into it when they start saying things like episode 100 and the reunion and all that type of thing. We put expectations on it. So how much of it is our fault and how much of it is their fault? That's for each of and every one of us to individually decide. But yes, over to you, okay.
Yeah, fair enough. That's actually true. We do, as a fandom, tend to get news, and we almost romanticize it in our head and think it's going to be like the hugest, biggest thing ever. So we're almost setting ourselves up for failure, no matter what they give us. And it wasn't a bad episode, honestly, in my opinion. It was good, but our expectations always want more blood or more gore, more this, more that. So yeah. I totally understand that. Like I said, I think it was a good episode. We'll start with, we'll leave that to the end. Shout out to other folks joining us in the chat. OTDA came through to show some love. Appreciate you. And Danny K is in the spot also. Thanks for coming through. Cameo is also here. And let's see. Let's go to the synopsis for episode 5 here. We start off with Nurse Donna. We see she's on a stakeout mission, getting her espionage skills on, and we see a car pull up, a man and a woman exit, and from Donna's reaction, my initial thoughts were that she caught her boyfriend cheating, and then she got inside, and we figured out no, it was actually her dad that she was spying on. So she busts into the room after hearing a random sound and loud music start playing, and what she finds is absolutely not dad behavior as she thought it was. If he was simply having an affair, that honestly would have been the best case scenario. The absolute worst case scenario is what we got, which was a young lady tied up, passed out, her guts literally spewing all over her abdomen, blood everywhere, and Donna has no idea what the hell to do with herself. She starts looking around the room. She sees all these pictures, like basically her dad's trophy wall of all the kills he's made throughout the years. And, she, to her credit, she does start to try to help the girl, because we find out, she is still alive. She's not dead quite yet. And, maybe possibly she could have saved her. But, Dad then walks in, and we find out that it's freaking Tuvok has come back onto the scene. He apparently made it out of the Delta Quadrant, and now we see he's Donna's dad. And Donna's dad has had very, very dark and evil impulses for all of his life, as he explained. And, because Donna is a psychologist, and we know her mission from the beginning has been to figure out, why serial killers do what they do, that her thought was they weren't born that way. They were made that way through different circumstances in life and drug use and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we now know that she did all of that because she wanted to prove that her loving father was not the killer that she saw in his last moments of life. So, they have a little conversation. She keeps saying, Dad, I can help you, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, he's like, no, you were never supposed to see me like this. This is my dark side. Like, for how many years has this dude been operating? And the only reason he was caught was because his daughter thought he was cheating. And he ends up stabbing himself in the neck. And that is our introduction to the whole episode. So, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Andy. What did you think about this opener?
What a crazy way to open episode 5. I mean, we had 4 solid episodes to start with, all set at Camp Redwood. And we got everyone's backstories except for Donna. And then finally, episode 5 comes along, and we get beyond Rita or fake Rita, or, we go beyond Donna, we get Dee Dee. And we get very much a sore chest when we look at the amount of cigarettes she smoked in the time that she was waiting for her father to actually turn up. I mean, like, it was piled up. It was almost as tall as like the side vision mirror on the side of the car. It was that bad. So shading on people for smoking cigarettes. Sorry, guys. Just trying to be health conscious here. Anyway, so this scene was uber intense. I for some reason, it's not the flat from Breaking Bad, but it reminds me of the flat from Breaking Bad. That he just this little 1-bedroom type little flat. When she was going through the back door, I was kind of expecting the back door for the bed to be there, like it was in Breaking Bad. For some reason, don't know why, but it just kept popping in my head. And then we get to see Donna obviously confront her father, and only to find out that he is a sick motherfucker. Excuse the French, but this man just cut this woman open, and as AK just described before, like, her guts is just hanging out of the abdomen, and full on intense scene. We see the trophy wall. Love the trophy wall. These serial killers just love relishing in what they've done, and they're just absolutely sick. And I look at this wall, and how sadistically you can actually smile and entertain yourself about just because it's entertainment. But this is the sick shit the real guys do as well. So that's why this show has so much realistic aspects to it, even though there's a lot of supernatural stuff that happens in the show as well. There's a lot of realism for sure. But yeah, I love this part of the episode. I have to say, excellent way of starting the episode, and excellent backstory to a character who, back in episode 1, you probably wouldn't have predicted that she was going to be a real major character apart from if you were a pose watcher, correct?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This is completely different.
It was like Billy Porter last year. Like he was from Pose and he came and he stole the show. So and she's done the same thing this year. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the first bit of the episode. Okay, so yeah, I'll pass back to you.
Yeah, definitely, totally agree. Like with Billy Porter, you could still see Pray Tell in Behold's character. And honestly, I thought that was brilliant. I loved the way he played that part. But now with Donna, it's completely different to the character of Candy that she portrayed. And I love it. It just shows her versatility as an actress. And I'm here for all of it. BBM, go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Donna. I was actually happy about this backstory because it finally gave us some insight into those questionable decisions Donna has been making in the past few episodes of this damn season. It was kind of sad that she just thought that her father was, cheating on her mom, and the next thing you know, he's just killing people. I'm just saying, okay, if you're showing us this, is this like foreshadowing that there's also again this darkness that is in Donna, and we actually end up seeing that before this season ends? Because I even think Ramirez even talked about it within this episode, like there was even a darkness inside Donna. He even brings that up. So it's like, all right, will there be a point where we're gonna think that Donna's gonna help us out, but then she might just end up killing someone and just embrace, and follow in her father's footsteps, And it's also okay. Why? Besides, at one point I thought that she was gonna become a psychiatrist, but she said that she already was one. So it's like, okay, but it seems like now she's just even more motivated to try to not only just prevent more cases like her father, but make sure that her too would not become something, that she wasn't born as evil.
Yeah, indeed. Like that conversation that she had with Ramirez, and then with her father right after, which he did not die in camp, which I think was pretty interesting. I guess Satan was the orchestrator of his appearance at that moment, and he was absolutely proud. You are the seed of evil. From me came you. So finish my work. And I was like, well, fuck all, Dad. Damn. I mean, you've done this horrible thing, and well, I mean, I guess he's a ghost now, so yeah, he has no reason to be remorseful about it. He did what he did for himself, so he wants to see the journey continue through his daughter. And I think that conversation, more than anything, is what put Donna in the mindset to do something that comes up in the next episode. So we'll get more into her actions there. Now, for this next scene, and also before we go to that, welcome to my fellow Mad Queen T Baby. Thank you for coming in. Miss seeing you, and I do hope you are doing well. So our next scene, we get to Xavier, Montana, Margaret, Brooke, and Chet. They're all by the car that they were trying to escape to. The last car, Blake's, which is on fire, and they never show who set it on fire, but I'm pretty sure it was Margaret, because she's probably the only one that cared about keeping everyone there. Everyone else wanted to escape, and she wasn't going to let that happen. So, Xavier is flipping out, rightfully so, because we just saw the damn long night that they just went through over 4 episodes. So he absolutely had a right to be in the mindset that he was, and I think he had the right solution, burn everything down. Drake Harris, damn it, let that fire rain and then get the hell out of Dodge. But of course, Margaret can't let that happen, and neither can Montana, because she is also on a mission. Margaret ends up knocking Xavier out to stop him from, hurting someone else, quote unquote, in her words. And they end up talking, and she lies and says that she saw some people camping across the lake. They can go out there and, get help, get into the vehicle, get the police, blah, blah, blah. Montana takes it upon herself to volunteer Chet to go with her so she isn't by herself. Of course, we know it has nothing to do with Margaret's safety. She just wants to get Brooke alone. So she unknowingly sacrifices Chet to a very bad fate that comes up shortly after all of that. And she thinks about, killing Brooke right then and there, but she has to like build up her nerve, and she doesn't do it quick enough because Brooke sees Ray walking by outside, and Montana's like, no, he took off to go find help on Trevor's bike. And Brooke's like, no, I just saw him walking by. She doesn't know it's his ghost yet. And she runs out. She sees the weapon in Montana's hand, and she misinterprets what it's there for and says, okay, yeah, keep a hold of that so you can fight if you need to. I'm going to go and get Ray. And she runs out. She gets Ray. They talk for a second. Ray is extremely disoriented, just like Jonas, the hitchhiker, was in the very beginning episode. And, they're talking. He explains what he can with his mind still being fuzzy. They hear the keys jingling, and they think Jingle's after them, so they run and hide. My issue here is they run into a building that seemed like it had wall-to-wall windows. And their only hiding was to sit under the windows. Why would you not go somewhere to where you couldn't easily be seen? If anyone chooses to walk up to the window and look in, they're going to see you sitting right there. Why would you not pick a better spot? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the horror story teenager that comes out of them. They're not thinking straight, apparently. And, they get to talking. Brooke, let's loose after a little bit. She kisses him, and she's like, I feel like I'm going to die before I ever really get to live. So, of course, that leads to sex. Stressful situation. So humans, I get how it could get to that. But, she ends up saying, at the end of that, and Ray does ask how it was. And she's like, well, I don't really have anything to compare it to because I was a virgin. But I guess it was okay. And if I was Ray, that would faze me a little bit, because after my loving, you're going to just say, I guess it was okay. But it's really neither here nor there. It's just a funny response that Ray completely skipped over. And the funny thing with their interaction right there is he stays chilling in his boxers while she hurriedly gets dressed like right away. Would you not think to put your clothes back on, Ray? Even if you don't realize yet that you're a ghost, still, the moment is over. You might have to run within the next 10 seconds. Put your damn clothes back on, my dude. You don't have time to bask in the afterglow. That's not what we're here for. But anyways, after he asks how it was, she says, it made me feel thirsty. And she goes to the fridge, and lo and behold is Ray's head. Now, we know that Jingles chopped off Ray's head. But who the hell put Ray's head in the fridge? It doesn't make sense to me that Jingles would do that, because that's not his MO. He doesn't care about trophies or collecting anything off of people. That was Margaret's game with the ear. He never did any of that. He's just stab and go on to the next one. So who put Ray's head in the fridge? We're probably never going to know, but it's always a question that's going to be out there for me. So, David, I'll start with you this time. What did you think about that whole scenario?
If we actually saw, Ray's head fully, and if he was, missing an ear, I would guess it would have been Margaret who actually would have done it, But, again, we just don't know. But also, was I, the only one who was hoping that Brooke was going to get pregnant so that we actually get, the Antichrist? Because isn't it a human and a ghost, and then boom, we get an Antichrist? That's
you
the canon
and
thing,
1,000 other people. Well, see, no, that's the thing. When Lana Winters was talking about that in Apocalypse, the conversation that we saw, she said it's rare for a baby to come from spirit and human. And there was a really special situation going on there with the Antichrist and whatnot. I never thought Brooke would be pregnant, but everybody else wanted that storyline to repeat. But I was seems like a cheap repeat.
They keep on
But
saying
continue,
time and
please.
again. It's a battle between good and evil constantly. I wanted it to happen, especially since freaking Camp Redwood is literally just like a murder house. So it's I was hoping, but we didn't get it. Okay, but what else happened within this episode? Oh yeah, the whole Margaret thing, the moment she said like, "Oh, we saw people across the lake," I'm like, did I miss like a few scenes or something? Because it was that one point in time she mentions or we see anyone across the lake, and then freaking Chet dies. I'm like, really? It's like there's certain characters that just keep dying left and right, and it's like I was hoping that at least this guy kind of lived. Like he wasn't that completely shady, like I said in previous stream. Besides the whole steroids thing, but it's like if I be pissed off at him about that, I'd be pissed off at a whole bunch of WWE wrestlers right now. Am I right, Andrew, or am I wrong?
You are absolutely correct there, Fandom.
And also about like the picking the wrong spot, aka like even like you were saying yourself, it's like it's a horror movie. Not a horror movie. It's based on horror movies. Obviously, everyone's gonna pick the wrong spot, and anyone could just be caught at an instant.
Completely. Well, I mean, like I enjoyed this this particular part of the scene of the episode. I was like everyone. I was wondering whether we were going to get Satan spawn with the mixing of spiritual juice, jizz, whatever you want to say. And human oven baking. It's, however you want to describe the procedure. A ghost has sex with a human, and do they become the potential father or mother of the Antichrist? This is American Horror Story logic, and it is possible. People do still think this, regardless of the current episode later that we're going to get to, but we'll leave that for then. But yeah, like I thought the exact same thing about the mess hall. Like, absolutely silly place to hide when everyone can see the hell in there. But who put the head in the fridge? Now, that is a question that AK asked before. Could it be Margaret covering up the events of the night? Possibly. Could it have been Jingles? Well, he's never chopped someone's head off before, so we don't know that it isn't Jingles or Benjamin. Who are the other potential people that we could be looking at as candidates?
You said Ramirez?
Well, we could say Ramirez, but I would say he's the most unlikely person. I would say a more likely candidate could be a future character that we haven't met in this episode, naming Code Lady in White. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're thinking. I see what you're thinking.
Interesting. I like that thought.
But we're secret squirrels until we get to that episode for anyone that's watching this chronologically. The way you should be, because if you're watching it back to front, it is not going to make any fucking sense at all. Okay. But yeah, enjoyable. Let's get to the next part of the. We've both gone on this.
Oh, I forgot one more point of when Brooke said that she was like a virgin. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm still in the camp that she's still like was lying about Montana's boyfriend. So when will this like go back?
I never thought she was.
I still think that she is, and the season ain't done yet. So who knows?
I mean, what would it gain her to lie about that though?
She's been lying from the beginning, and she's lying from the beginning. It's gonna be that twist at the end. It's gonna be that twist at the end. It's gonna be that twist in the end. She's gonna do that in a Michael Jackson turn, and then everything is gonna be revealed. Watch. If not, then hey, I was just overanalyzing again.
If it happens, I suppose that would be a very, very interesting twist. But I don't know. I really don't see it. I just never thought that she was lying at all. She had no reason to, especially once we heard, and actually I forgot to say this in that scene, Brooke explained exactly who her fiance was. Coming up, she was a nerd. She was basically Hermione Granger. She got all the good grades. She was always in the number one spot in her class, did all the studies, knew everything. And because of that, she had a classmate that always came second, and that classmate absolutely despised it. He turned against her. He had everyone else turned against her, and she was tired of being lonely. So she dumbed herself down pretty much, and that allowed him to take the number one spot. And once he did, then he started being her friend and eventually asked her out on a date. And eventually he asked her to marry him. And that was the person that went nuts. That ridiculous, possessive person was always that horrible person to begin with from the very beginning. And she said she wasn't even sure that she loved him. She'd seen the red flags, I'm sure, but she ignored that because she didn't want to go back to being that, lonely girl that she was in the very beginning. So for her to tell Ray all of that and then to still be lying that she didn't sleep with his best friend, it just doesn't make sense to me.
In reality, okay, this happens every day. Like people are attracted to people simply because that person doesn't treat you right, or it's like something in your head's gone loose, and you just like I'm craving attention from a person who really doesn't want to give it to me anyway, when I could be better spending my time with someone who's much better for me as a person. But I can't see that now because I'm just so blinded by the fact, that I've got this tunnel syndrome. Yeah.
Like I really don't think it gains her anything to continually to be lying about that. Especially when it comes to what happens a little later on. So we'll wait until we get to that to talk more about Brooke and her supposed crimes. Let's see our next bit. Let me scroll down, make sure on the synopsis I'm not repeating. Oh yeah. So after the whole Ray thing, while that's happening, we cut to the lake. And we see what's going on with Margaret and Chet. And Margaret is being Margaret. Chet sees the signs already. He's like, I don't see any people over there because they're about midway over the lake right now. So he can see to the other side pretty clearly. There's no tents, no people, no lights even. And he's like, are you sure you saw people over there? And, Margaret is being crazy Margaret again, and she goes into her rant about God and needing to repent for his sins, and Chet is basically just looking at her like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not what we're here for. The people over there are not. We need to go ahead and get help. And she was like, well, oh no, he said, you're not perfect, don't you have something to confess to? And she was like, well, yeah, I do. There's no other people at all. I had to think up something to get each of y'all alone with me, and you just happen to be first. So what happens? Poor Chet. This guy really can't catch a break. He escapes one death pit and basically goes right into another. And, she overpowers him. He's already weakened. Normally a guy like Chet, Margaret's not going to be able to overpower a guy like that, but he's very severely weakened already from the blood loss that he suffered. So she, knocks him out, chains him to the anchor. He tries to fight, but he really can't. And anchors are extremely heavy. If one is strapped to your leg, I commend him for being able to hold on to the side of the boat for as long that he did. But she effectively drowns him, and then she, goes back to the camp, and we see her come through a little bit later. She also does slice his ear off before she fully gets him to let go of the boat. And then for her, I get in her mind, I think it's just on to the next one. And who can I, stab next in this whole scenario? That's a very, small part. So I think we can intertwine that with something else. Let's see. The small Donna situation back at camp. She finds the cabin where Montana and Xavier are. Xavier is conscious now from being knocked out. And, she starts telling them that it was her fault. That Jingles got out. She basically let him out, helped him escape, brought him here because she thought that she could prove that, people weren't born like this. but now she's, supposedly seeing the error of her ways, and Xavier is having none of it because it's her fault that he now has a like 4th-degree burn face with blisters everywhere, and he's been running scared for his life since he got to the damn camp. And he deservedly so, takes a swing at her with a knife or some weapon that he found in there. And she runs off. Xavier chases him. By this point, Brooke has found Ray's head, and she runs away because she doesn't know what Ray is or what any of that means. And she finds Montana back at the cabin, and she starts trying to explain what's happening. She thinks she's going crazy, and Montana finally found her nerve. She's like, "No, you're not going crazy," and she smacks her over the head with a weapon. And then we get to the story of why she's actually going after her. But there's a little bit that happens in before that. So back to you, Andy. What do you think about that whole thing?
Okay. Briefly before I get to that, I do want to just go back one step to where Xavier was about to light the whole fucking place down. I mean, that was the most... Everything that comes out of Xavier's mouth this season has got me just in stitches. Like Cody Fern has done an excellent job this year of playing a completely different character. Like last year, Michael Langdon was an awesome character as the Antichrist, but it was a very serious role. And this year, he's been able to dabble with dark comedy, and I think he's just taken the role, and he's done well with it. And he's like when they're treating him like he's crazy, he's like waving that torch around, saying we've got to light this whole place up. And then he talks about how he's breathed the fire of 1,000 suns and all this type of shit before Margaret knocks him out. And that's crazy. And then we get to the point where later on down the track now where AK was just talking about Chet. Now, Chet, what the hell? Why? This is a man that he could have survived very easily. He very much could have overpowered Margaret, sorry. Why did I think Donna for some crazy reason? But, I was like even with, like she's rowing across, I'm thinking, I think Chet could still take her. But she smacks him in the face across the neck a few times, and I'm really surprised in this scene. Like his neck didn't like fully like break, that he couldn't actually like move it again, because
I thought it honestly broke the first time around.
That's what it looked like. It's like
she did whack the shit out of him.
Yes, she did. And like that would have fucking killed. Like just that alone was enough to put him in a paralyzed position. And next minute he's got his head straight back up again. Like you tell me I sleep wrong for the night, and I'm down fucking begging for a massage the next day, saying, I'll fucking suck your dick for a massage. Right? I'm fucking that desperate for a fucking massage just because I slept on it wrong. And this guy's got an oar smacked into the back of his, well, once it was across the side of his neck, I think, and the other was on the top of his head. And then she's like tying up the anvil, or the what do they call it? The
anchor.
Anchor, that's the word I'm looking for. Why am I thinking anvil? This is not Looney Tunes, people. This is
I mean, it might as well be, though. Yeah. It's very dark Looney Tunes right now.
This is, yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, and she's like giving him every opportunity to repent his sins. And I'm just thinking here, like, you self-righteous bitch. I mean, like, how could you decide who should die and who shouldn't die, and give them the opportunity to repent their sins, and think that there's no consequences for your own actions? Like this chick is gone completely loopy. and and we understand why when we get further down the track. But for now, we don't understand where this all came from. We're just thinking she's super religious. So, when you're super religious, killing isn't the first thing that comes to mind, or it shouldn't be anyway. I don't know a single faith really on the face of the planet, whether you're talking Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism. None of them actually in their scriptural textures say go out and hurt people. That's the people that choose to do those things. So I'll steer away from that now. That's too political.
I mean, it's true though. It's true though. It definitely factors in.
Yeah. But yeah, back to you.
All right, on to you, David.
So yeah, one I could see why Chet had to go down that. I forgot what was that freaking that pit, so that when she actually does go in for the kill, he can't fight back. Because if he was able to, she probably would have been dead. But also, I didn't expect Margaret to actually kill every single camper. I thought she was just gonna kill Trevor, then try to kill Mr. Jingles and just allow other campers to survive. But apparently now she decided to kill each and every one of them. Okay, hopefully you become successful.
I mean, and that was always my question too. How does that work when you need counselors for these damn kids that are coming?
True, and I'm happy that at the end of the episode we actually see these damn kids, and there's still no other camp counselors at all still. So again, it was really just a saving grace that Xavier brought the rest of the gang over, because we've been short of staff. Also, Xavier felt bad for him yet again. Even this episode, I actually thought he was gonna kill Donna based on the promo, because the way he was this gun hill of getting revenge. Because hell, now he can't be in the cover of freaking TV Guide now because of Donna. But hey, she escaped.
Yeah, now it's her fault. That he only has a face worthy of radio now. So I mean, I don't fault him for going after her at all. He was well within his rights to feel that way. It's a really screwed up hand that him and everyone else have been dealt for this.
And once again, another classic Xavier line for the season. It's your fault that I'll only ever be in radio. It's just line after line. They have whoever wrote this year. You did such a fucking good job. I'm sorry, but I'm really enjoying it.
Agreed. And also kudos to Cody Fern for his American accent. I didn't know the kid was from Australia. But I watched an interview with him the other day and I heard him talk. I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? Yeah, and his accent is very strong. Like even I think a little stronger than Andy's is. So for him to pull off the American cadence in their voice the way he did, and kudos to him. Let's see. All right, where are we here? I think we're actually nearing the end of the ep now. Let's see. So we got past Montana and her shenanigans. Blah. Okay, hold on. Lost my spot. Sorry. Let me pull back up the synopsis. Where are we at? Oh yeah, we get to the final scene that is within the episode, and that is, Jingles. He's figured everything out now. Of course, we know he's got all the information. His only thought now is going after Margaret. And actually, before we get to that, once Donna loses Xavier, she ends up running into Jingles again. And they have a talk, and Donna's finally come to realization that that this isn't these aren't the steps that she should have taken to get to this. She was still grieving for her father after all these years, and she wanted to just prove that, and not even for science, like she said, it really was to prove to herself that something happened that turned her dad the way that she saw him in the end. And she's accepted now that no, that was always him, and she is very repentant. Honestly, I don't think that she's being insincere at all. And she does ask that Benjamin I call him quote unquote not Jingles anymore. She begs him to kill her so she can, get the punishment she feels she deserves. And he's like, no, that was never me. It was Margaret. I was never really Jingles until tonight. Outside of the war, I had never killed a single soul. So I'm not going to kill you. Death honestly would be too good for you. Your punishment is going to be to live with what you did. Very fitting. Excellent line. I love that whole dialogue. And he, basically goes out, and while they're talking, and this is a kudos to the soldiers, the men that fought in the Vietnam War. This guy is holding a full conversation as he's removing bullets from his abdomen and chest. No numbing agent at all. He's just going in, pulling them out, and patching himself up. And these are the badasses that had to be in the Vietnam War. That's how strong those guys are. Kudos to them for the work they had to put in that senseless war. But once we get through with that, he does eventually find Margaret, and he was going in for the kill. He was almost there, but then we got fucking Xavier playing discount Legolas coming in with the bow and arrow. And yeah, his shots were cool. He did have some archery skill, but he killed the wrong one. He went after the wrong bad, quote unquote, bad guy in the scenario. And as a result, he got shanked for it. That was his death. He was trying to be good, and he assessed the situation as he saw it, but he didn't have all the information behind the scenes, so he made a mistake, unfortunately, and that led to his death. Now, because of that, also, Margaret gets away, and Jingles, Benjamin, well, not Jingles, is about to die. And then we see Ramirez come up and asks, will he pledge himself to Satan? And at first, the first couple times I watched this, I didn't think that he actually did. I thought that he really just got up because, dude really took 3 bullets to the chest and abdomen and just walked away. I thought he was dead there, and he wasn't. And I didn't think he was dead here. But after watching it again tonight, he did give a small nod, affirming that, yeah, he'll make the deal. So that's what happened. And that is how we end the episode, with him taking that deal. So to wrap up, David, I'll go with you first. What do you think on your final thoughts on this episode?
The moment Mr. Jingles was like choking Margaret to death, I was like, wait a minute. Evil doesn't die that easily. Something's gonna happen. She's gonna survive. And what happens? She does. And Xavier pretty much kills Mr. Jingles, which I was hoping he was gonna kill Donna instead. But hey, he kills Mr. Jingles for the one who actually put him in that damn oven, which is he's still trying to solve the whole oven situation still to this day, Andy. About how with all that. But yeah, even then when whatchamacallit, Xavier was like, telling him like the whole deal with Satan thing. I'm like, okay, I'm guessing this has to go back to the Hotel Cortez type of thing, I guess, or whatever. But I was gonna like nod it, but inevitably regret it, because when we see like certain scenes and eventually within like later episodes, like he really wasn't that of an evil individual, Mr. Jingles. He pretty much was mainly a victim. So just to see him just say yes was kind of interesting, though. I thought he was gonna just say no, like AK, and just pass out, whatever. But then when he got back up and he joined Mr. Jingles on the road, I'm like, okay, so is he gonna just join in on the murdering spree here? Like, I was very curious to see how it was gonna like transpire.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Andy.
Look, I thought Red Dawn was a pretty solid episode. It was the end of 5 very, I wouldn't say very long, 5 long episodes that culminated the long night of AHS, not of Game of Thrones. So both of these programs have now had a long night, people. So make sure you don't confuse the two, because you'll be very disappointed, because there's no White Walkers in the story. Now, apart from that, for the first time since episode 1, we get sunlight. hence one of the names, Red Dawn. So that was good. But, we did, of course, see the tragedies of the night, such as Margaret surviving is a big tragedy because everything she did, she really deserved to die. And, if she ever gets this fate, obviously she didn't in this episode, but I would say, fingers crossed for the future. But anyway, Brooke and Montana wrestle just from the dark all the way until probably after breakfast, because all of a sudden kids are there. I mean, when did the kids...
almost well into the morning.
Exactly.
It's got to be about 7-8 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking hours have passed. So, I mean, there was some serious going on with those girls wrestling in the woods because it went on for a long time. So, I don't know. But Montana does become the loser of that fight and becomes a ghost. I think you didn't mention that, did you? That Montana became a ghost.
No, I don't think we see her as a ghost until the next episode. We see her die.
No, we do see her.
No, we do. We do.
Yeah.
Do we? Okay. I
missed that part. She shoots the cop. And
that's right.
That the cop that lost his car to Ramirez and Jingles. Yeah. Before they go off to Los Angeles on their little joy killing spree, with 166 miles to go. So, but yeah, no, solid episode. I have to say, this is the last episode that we get actually set in 1984. So, yeah, I think it was a good conclusion to the events of what happened at Camp Redwood for the period of 1984. So, yeah. Okay, let's talk about the next one.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on, I would just like to note that I think Ryan Murphy is a closet nerd because he inserts random references. Honestly, I guess I can't say whether he does it intentionally or not, but the name of this episode is Red Dawn. And as some of you older folks will know, Red Dawn is the name of a movie about an invasion of America that came out, I want to say about the 70s or 80s, and then it was remade again, starring Chris Helmsworth. Yeah, it was decent, both good flicks. I recommend you guys watch both of them. But also with this episode, there's so much blood has been spilled. I couldn't help thinking about Lord of the Rings. A red sun rises, blood has been spilled this night. Yeah. A whole fucking shit ton of blood has been spilled this night. And yeah, it's very fitting. And also with the fight between Montana and Brooke, that had to have been going on for a good, 7-8 hours battling back and forth. To me, that's another Lord of the Rings episode because Gandalf and the freaking Balrog had to fight for hours and hours and days, falling in a pit until they ended up dying on the top of a mountain. It's an interesting nod, I think. Whether Ryan did that on purpose, I don't know, but I like the implication. So before we do move on, what would you guys rate this episode? 1 out of 10. Whatever's you want to rate it. I think I will go with solid, 7.75 Red Dawns. David, what do you got?
8 out of 10 missing heads in the refrigerator.
Good one. Andy?
Oh, I would have to give it a 7.5 stretching Xavier's.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to try to go for a bit of a speed round on this one because we did just spend like an hour on one episode. It's worth it because it was good content. But let's push through to the next. And what we start with is Ramirez is keeping the whole damn floor awake, particularly the room that's right next door to his in a motel that him and Benjamin are staying at. The lady next door asks her husband to go and, tell him to calm down. Husband doesn't want to budge. She's a mom, she's got kids. They're going to Disneyland the next day. That's a hectic situation, and the woman needs her rest. So she says, screw it. She gets up and she goes to knock on the door herself. And their interaction was, slightly comical to me because, Ramirez almost gave off that lightweight, flirty vibe with how he was talking to her. And she was feeling it a little bit, but she was like, no, I can't come in. I got to go, back to sleep. We got stuff to do early in the morning. And he's like, nah, and he grabs her. But then Benjamin steps up and turns the music off because, of course, he's blasting Billy Idol. He's like, dude, just let her go. I am tired. I need to sleep. And I don't like your music. Damn it. Just let the woman go so I can get some rest. So the woman escapes. She goes back to her room. And, not Jingles, Benjamin is talking about like, man, do you even care about what we're doing? Like there's so many people that are died. Are you keeping track? Do you even know how many there were? I do, because I see them every night when I go to sleep. I'm tired of the killing. I don't like your music. This is absurd, and I need to sleep. We need to just stop. And of course, Ramirez ain't trying to hear none of that. He tells him to just go to bed, put some music back on. And then we, jump to the next day, and they're traveling. They stop at this gas station, and Ramirez asks if Benjamin wants anything, and he says, "I'll just bring me a tab." Tab was soft drink that was very big back in the day. And while Ramirez is in the gas station, Benjamin sees a newspaper with Ramirez's face on it, and he, takes it out. He gives it to one of the ladies. I mean, the neighborhood that they're in is a very dominant Spanish neighborhood. And he gives it to the lady. She looks at it, and this was another upcoming Game of Thrones reference for me. Anyways, this lady looks at it, and she looks at the person that Benjamin pointed out, and this chick calls the banners like really super fucking quick. And this runs the risk of sounding a bit racist. But if you want an awesome neighborhood watch in your neighborhood, live around some Spanish folk, because they pay attention to everything. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be racist. Again, I'm saying it because this is from experience. I've lived around a lot of Spanish folks, and anything happening, if anybody tries to mess with your house or your stuff, they will come and tell you. They will look out for your ass. So I'm just saying, the facts, deal with it. And like I said, this lady calls the banners. They come out in full force. Like they start chasing Ramirez through the neighborhood, down the street. He has to dodge cars. People, some folks don't even know exactly what's happening. They just see their friends and family in the neighborhood chasing this guy, and they jump up to help. A couple people grab wrenches and a whole bunch of, I think he gets hit by a car. He gets hit by like 2 or 3 cars and dodges a whole bunch of them until he tries to carjack a young lady, and the full crowd catches up with him, and he gets whacked over the head with a wrench. So while the guys in the neighborhood, they're beating him up, Benjamin rolls by, and he does like a silent Lady Olenna, just, letting him know that, yeah, it was me that did this, bitch. I'm out. And he goes off into the sunset, for whatever plans he wants to do. And he leaves Ramirez there for whatever his fate is going to be. Fun fact, this has actually happened in real life. That was one of the ways that he was actually caught. He got into a neighborhood and somebody recognized him, and they chased his ass down. So it was really cool.
One of my questions, like, was that actually the way that he was caught?
That happened. It was. I don't think that's exactly how he was caught, but he got fucked up in that neighborhood.
I think I saw a thing saying that it was pretty much the same, except there's no Mr. Jingles.
Right. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool that they put that scene in. So let me speed through a little bit more of with Jess Ramirez and Benjamin. He ends up getting locked up because of this. I'm honestly surprised they didn't just kill him and bury him in some random part of the woods in their neighborhood, but he ends up getting arrested. Next time we see him, he's in jail. And meanwhile, while he's going through all that, Benjamin goes off. He starts a new life. He's married with a kid, which kudos to him, because that's a great happy ending for him. He never was that bad evil person that he was painted to be, and now he's living his life, just trying to be a better person, better than the image that has been spun about him. And also with Ramirez, Brooke ends up in the same prison that he's in, because that's where they're going to do her execution. She lost her last appeal. She has to go in, and there's a bunch of interactions that happen there, but I'll stop because there's a few things that happen in between time with that. So Andy, your first thoughts on the whole Benjamin and Ramirez scene, and then him betraying and them splitting ties.
Yes, well, look, I'm going to have to say it was marvelous stuff. Yes, it was marvelous stuff indeed. The fact that we got to see Ramirez and Jingles as a duo 12 months later, we missed out on the entire initial fun that Jingles was obviously thinking he was going to have from it, because of we see him in the police car and they're like, seatbelt, what do you need a bloody seatbelt for? We'll keep driving off like this. So they're obviously going off knowing that they're heading into complete danger and they're going to cause as much chaos as they can. And then we get to 12 months later. We don't get to see any of the build up to the victims whatsoever. We are in a hotel. Now, can I just say that I am 100% happy that it was not the Hotel Cortez. Now, why am I 100% happy it's not the Hotel Cortez? Now, the reason is because I don't think Mr. Jingles would have ever left the Hotel Cortez. I think they would have understood that he was turning and he would have become a victim of the Hotel Cortez. And then that would have defeated the rest of the storyline. Because
that's a very good point.
You can't fool the hotel. The hotel fucking knows. This is what we learnt from that entire season. So that's my theory. So I know a lot of people were saying, they're staying at a hotel. Oh, I wish they had stayed at the Cortez. Yeah, I can appreciate that. We all love the Hotel Cortez. Will we get to see the Hotel Cortez again someday? I'm sure we will, but it needs to be relevant and it needs to be, it can't just be thrown in there just because it's going to be cool, and there to be a logical reason, like I explained, that the hotel wouldn't allow someone that's good to leave. They're trapping everyone in that freaking hotel. That's what happens there. So yeah, happy about that. Happy about the Ramirez, but they stuck to the whole him getting caught the way he did in real life. That as you said, that is one fucking neighborhood watch. You don't mess with that fucking neighborhood watch. That's
absolutely. I have loved living around every Spanish family that I have lived around because they are just some really great people.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I loved watching John Carroll Lynch play this role, going from we didn't know much about this character. I mean, every character has developed further. Don't get me wrong in the season. But someone as shallow as what we thought Ray was, turned out to be as credible in death as he is now. You know, and then we saw someone like Xavier that did all the right things in life that's now doing all the wrong things in death. So, yeah, kind of just lost my train of thought there, but quickly, Andrew, before you look like a fool.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. I will be in a full monologue and forget the point that I was trying to make. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I'm just like, what is the bloody point to this? And you know, the point is that Benjamin has been a character that has got more layers than an onion. I can tell you that. And every layer we're peeling back, it just gets sweeter and sweeter deep down inside. And you can really empathize, I believe is the correct word, with this character. You know, where at the beginning of the story, you didn't have these same emotional attachments, and you really, I think, now are rooting for him. So that's about where my opinion is so far in the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. David?
I agree with your points, Andrew. It's like when you see Mr. Jingles in the beginning, it's like, okay, we're going to root for him or we're not going to root for him. And by this episode, I'm like, wow, like this guy actually got some layers to his damn character. And I do wish that we got more fleshed out of that time skip with those like 11 victims. And as like Andrew was saying, it's like they were so buddy at the end of the previous episode. It's like, did he kill one of those 11 people? And then inevitably he just got tired of it and he just got fed up and he just wanted out. You know, and I'm happy that he actually, you know, did get, you know, Ramirez caught. Because the family was literally going to Disneyland. How are you going to interrupt that? I've never been to Disneyland. I would have been pissed if I got interrupted by freaking a serial killer in the next door. So, yeah, that's pretty much my points about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's nuts. Yeah, and I really like the way that whole sequence played out. So we jump ahead a little more in time, and we're in 1989 now. And we're back at the camp. There's a photographer that's going through. He's taking nature pictures. You know, he's fascinated by the migration of some of the ducks. So he knows that like that lake is in line with their migration pattern. And he wants to try to capture, you know, as many pics as he can. And that's all well and good. But people know the damn history of this camp. I don't give a fuck what ducks are going through there. Why do you keep going near this property, humans? Be smarter. Stop it. And he gets there. He gets to the pier. He's about to take a picture and he sees Montana. And of course, Montana is in, you know, full killer mode. She doesn't care because she can kill without consequence. And, you know, that's just been her character. And this photographer does end up getting killed. And we see the three main camp counselors from the 70s. And they're looking at her like, aren't you tired of this yet? And one of them says, like, I haven't wanted to touch a living person since 1972. And, you know, then Xavier comes up and him and Montana seem to be a couple now, or at least they have, you know, a thing between them. He's like, you know, you old timers don't rain on our blood parade. You know, we can do whatever the hell we want now. Do y'all want to go sulk? Go someplace else. You know, and that dismisses that. Then it leads to the girlfriend coming to look for the guy, and Ray's yelling at them about, you know, being ridiculous and they don't have to kill everyone. And he's tired of cleaning up their mess and whatnot. Of course, that falls on deaf ears. You know, the girlfriend, she also gets shanked. And Ray's completely pissed. You know, he's not for any of that nonsense. And he is just completely done with the situation. You know, understandably so. But let's see, from there, that was a very small blurb that we got with that. And from there, then we jump to what I call, you know, MTV Cribs 1.0. It's Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, which was a very big show back in the day. And we see Margaret is now a, you know, real estate mogul because she owns all of these properties where horrible things have happened with serial killers, and she's basically turned them all into amusement parks. And that's how she makes her money now. And we also see, surprise, surprise, that Trevor actually survived his stabbing. And while he was in the hospital, we saw him. And, he basically let Margaret know that he remembers everything that happened and he tries to blackmail her. And she, does the double cross blackmail and says, okay, if you want to be pampered or whatever and you want money, then you're going to marry me. And he's like, why the hell would I do that? I'm trying to blackmail you. And she's like, well, they can't force a spouse to tell any secrets of another spouse. So if you want to be kept, this is going to be the situation. And he agrees to it, and we flash forward just a little bit more after that. And of course, they're married. He can't stand her. He's addicted to coke and she's still on her random ridiculousness. But her business isn't going as well anymore as it was in the beginning. And her assistant is trying to tell her that. Shout out to this gentleman coming back from what was the last one we seen him in? Was Coven and Roanoke, I think, was the last time we saw him on screen.
Yeah, Leslie Jordan.
Yes, Leslie Jordan. I love that guy. He's everything that I've ever seen him in. He's been awesome, and the trend still continues. He is Margaret's assistant, and he lets her know that a couple murders have happened again at Camp Redwood. And even though her business is declining, she thinks that this is the perfect boost that they need. So she sets up this concert with it's almost like Woodstock, the murder version. She has like Billy Idol as the headliner with a bunch of other different bands. One of them being the group that made the Neverending Story song, which I thought was hilarious that they put them in there. Let's see what else they're talking about. That they get the press conference together for that. And also she's informed that Brooke has lost her last appeal and she wants to make sure that they are there for the execution to see her, finally burn the way she should. Trevor, of course, is not impressed with that, but you see, he still wants to be, a kept person. So he goes along with her plan to help with the murder Woodstock that's coming up. So just to go with that, let's see. We'll also add in the final days of Brooke. When Brooke first got to the prison, Ramirez offered her a deal and she straight up told him to fuck off because she's not about that life. And he offers it to her again one more time after he astral projects into her cell and, gives her a whole monologue of what could happen with everything. And she still says, no, fuck you, I'm out. And when they get to the execution chamber, the priest asks if she has any last words, and she doesn't care about being read her last rites or anything. She just looks at the double-sided mirror that is blacked out, so she can't see out, but she knows Margaret's there. And she basically says, I never did anything wrong. I don't deserve to be here. Once I die, I'm going to make sure I can do anything to make sure that you burn in the end. And she spits at the glass. And that was an awesome badass Brooke moment. I appreciate that very much. I thought that was very well done. And I very much enjoyed it. In the meantime, that is happening, though. We have Ramirez that is talking to his father, Satan. And he's asking, I'm not trying to question what you do, but why put me here if Brooke is ultimately going to say no? He thought that was the reason he was there, to bring that other soul onto their side. And what ends up happening is prison guard ends up being possessed and Ramirez is actually freed. So he can go and take care of the contract that was reneged on by Benjamin. And I think that it's a bit pretty interesting the way they did that, because we also see him go after someone else that reneged on their contract. But that would be towards the end. That it's about the last sequence of the episode. So Andy, you start for that whole line of events. What did you think of that?
Look, I thought this is a pretty solid episode. I know that we did pre-discuss this before in relation to people being disappointed because they're being the episode 100. Now, I wasn't disappointed. I still enjoyed this episode. I just think that they shouldn't have called it episode 100, and they just shouldn't have made, like, basically once it aired, they should have said that was the 100th episode of, AHS on FX, and just left it at that, so that people didn't have these high expectations. But going into this episode, I felt that the scenes between Brooke and Richard Ramirez in prison, they were pretty good scenes. In general, we see that Brooke is offered not once, not twice, but 3 times. Just like in the Bible, we see Peter was tempted 3 times to betray Christ. So there's a lot of parables of religiousness and spirituality in Ryan Murphy's work, whether it's Christian, Jew, Satanism, whatever it is that you might be interested in or practice, follow, whatever the politically correct word is of the day. You got to be so careful. But yeah.
That's a good catch. I actually I missed that reference. That's
well, I'm pretty sure that's why they had him tempt 3 times, tempt Brooke 3 times. So it's very significant as well. With the Holy Trinity as well, with the number 3, and we often see in movies that show ghost possession and stuff, that ghosts often knock 3 times to mock the whole God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son. So one of the movies to mention that was the Conjuring. If you guys have ever seen that film, no,
I did not.
No, it's
you haven't seen The Conjuring?
No.
I don't do the horror movies like that.
Wow.
What? I highly recommend
I don't.
At least the first one. Watch it.
Yeah, I'll think about that one.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. But yeah, so yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is there was something I forgot to talk about before the Brooke and Ramirez thing happened. I got to enjoy watching Benjamin have another life. The life that he really did deserve, that he didn't think he deserved, and he was tricked and tortured into believing he was a terrible monster, and he wasn't this person at all. And he felt nothing but remorse and disgust in what he had actually done, and that's why he turned Ramirez in. And we get to see him. He's now got a wife. She's an ex-stripper, and let me make it clear, stripper, not hooker, because a few of the pages out.
No, I think said she was a prostitute.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, pretty positive.
I thought that she said stripper, but
yeah, go back and check that.
I'll have to go back and check it. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I thought differently. But yes, so anyway, whether she's a stripper or she's a hooker, she's had a life that she regrets, and she, rather than dwelling on that regret, she wants to look forward, and she's happy with Benjamin and their new infant son Bobby, and I was touched to see that we got that storyline for someone that you would never normally get to see that association with.
Yeah, not a whole lot of positive happens most times, and he, if anyone ever deserved it, he definitely did.
Totally. So yeah, and I very much enjoyed that. And of course, we got to see Red. If you didn't know, she was the chick that came into prison to show off a little rack and give Richard Ramirez a a very how's that good morning type of day. And
She had to show the goods, man.
yeah, she did.
When you've been locked up, that's that's what happens.
That's it. And she brings obviously the news of Margaret, who is going to be hosting a big concert at obviously at Camp Redwood, where the murders took place in 1984, and the new murders had just taken place in 1989, which is the reason why they're going back there. And I have to say, Leslie Jordan, I absolutely love that you were back in this show. Of course, you played Quentin in Coven and Cricket in Roanoke. So, yeah, two memorable characters. And Courtney, your new character, is also going to be quite remembered, I'm sure, by the end of it too. But, yeah, that's my thoughts of the episode. Great job, Leslie Jordan. Great job to Trevor for coming back with his big dingling, or the pendulum of no power, basically due to cocaine usage, as we found out earlier in the episode.
It didn't stop that monster from working that time, though.
No, not at all. Yeah, but something must have given him a little blood rush, huh?
Yeah, sometimes in situations, after you're arguing, that stress relief comes on.
Anyway, that's my thoughts. Over to you, okay?
Yeah, David, go ahead.
Before I begin, Mr. Jenkins, was he working at a Blockbuster, or was it another DVD? Not DVD, but
it wasn't a Blockbuster, but it was a video store, which were very prominent for all you young folks back in the day. We couldn't always get stuff on Netflix or Redbox.
Yes, but it was actually an homage to Blockbuster because it was written in the same font. It said Video Shack was the name of it, but instead of using the Blockbuster blue colored T-shirts, they obviously used that purpley color with the yellow stitching writing, which Blockbuster used to use as well. So,
and Be Kind Rewind, wasn't that a Blockbuster?
That was a Blockbuster.
That's why I was
that's before Blockbuster, but my family opened the first video shop in my city, and so they made some good money out of videotapes back when there was money to be made out of them. But DVD changed everything, and then the internet freaking changed the rest.
Digital canceled that shit.
Yeah. So
continue, David, please.
So earlier comment AK said people constantly go to Camp Redwood, just like people constantly go to Camp Crystal Lake. No matter how many times Jason is killing people, they still go back there, and it's gonna happen the same thing with Camp Redwood. Also, Ray. I still don't like the dude, but it seems that in his time in the purgatory here, he seems to be lighting up, because before he's like, okay, well, he was pretty much on his own self, like survival of the fittest. And now he's all about, okay, maybe we shouldn't be killing people, just try to figure out, okay, how to solve this issue of why we're still here, which is still a question we did not know yet of why they're still there, or how could they even move on. It was type of unfinished business or something. What else happened? Oh, Margaret making money, becoming a millionaire or so. I hated it. I wish he didn't. I wish he just stayed as a camp thing or whatever, but hell, he's making money. And also, hell, Trevor's alive. I was happy because I did love seeing that actor, from Glee. Now I see him in the show. And then when they killed him off, I was pissed. I was like, why did they have to kill him?
Right. Mr. Schuster should not have died. Yes.
Yeah, and then he comes back from a coma. I'm like, wait, what? Like, what the hell's going on here? Of all people to survive, I was hoping someone else would, but hey, he comes back. I'm happy. And he's pretty much kind of being used by, Margaret in the end. But hell, the whole blackmail and triple crossing thing. Let's see how that goes down. If he ends up dying, I'm like, really? You just bring him back just to kill him off later on. Just for reals there. Uh, there's the Jordan. I've seen him in Coven. I haven't seen all of Roanoke. When I see all of Roanoke, I probably will love his character there. I'm still loving his character, and what we have so far this season. What else? The Brooke deal with the devil. I'm shocked that she says no, and Mr. Jingo says yes. It's like I thought that he too would have said no, but apparently he said yes. But when it comes to Brooke, she's like flat out no. And who knows? Maybe she's, this nice girl. Maybe I'm having, over analyzing stuff, saying it earlier. If not, hey, they did this
I am going to
specifically.
blame that on your love of Cersei. Damn it! Stop
No.
putting Brooke in that camp. No,
The
of
reason
course she
why
would
is
say no.
because of her character in Scream 4. It's the same thing. We all thought that she was a nice character, and then they threw us that twist. And if they do this
There was a
again, I
Scream
wonder if they're
4.
gonna pay homage. Yeah, there was a Scream 4
I didn't get
that
that
came
far in the
out like
franchise.
it came out like recently, like sometime in like 2012 or something of that magnitude. It came out
2010.
like years. Yeah, there we go. It came out like years
Okay, yeah,
later.
totally missed
That's
that.
why. And it's like the same thing where we all thought that she was nice, but in the end, we learned that she was just playing everyone. She was like, spoiler alert, the Ghostface killer. So it's like, if she ended up being a twist at the end, it's like I wonder if they're doing a homage to that for her other role, where she was like a nice girl, but then in reality, she wasn't. What else happened? Oh, when she spit at the glass, instantly I just thought of Slim Shady Eminem when he in that scene where he's like spinning at the onion rings immediately.
Oh, that was so gross.
And also like when Brooke does die, I'm like, okay, I guess that's gonna be the end of her character. That was just overwhelming, and then all of a sudden, someone is bringing her back. That wasn't this
Wait.
episode. It
No,
wasn't this episode.
it was this episode, but I didn't talk about that part just yet in the synopsis.
Okay, all right, and
We're like
also,
right up
yeah,
to everything that happened before that.
and whatchamacallit, we talked about Mr. Jingo's ending, right? We did talk about that.
Yeah, him leaving and getting married to the
Oh
prostitute and having a son. Yeah.
In the moment where we got Ramirez saying like, oh, eventually, they will like get his due, and it pretty much does happen. And now he has to like go and try to kill Ramirez, which is a bit sad though. He actually had, a wife and a kid, and good thing the kid didn't die. That was like one thing I was okay. I was actually gonna
I
kill the
was
kid
so worried
too,
about that.
but the kid survived, and he ended him over to like the aunt, so that was good.
Yeah, I was really worried that the next body we would find is what was his son. But also a little bit before that happened, they showed him at the video store, when he said the "Be Kind Rewind," they almost made it like he coined that phrase, which was cool. And like his manager was saying, a lot of my employees don't really give a damn about being here, but you actually take the job seriously and you're killing it with like the customer service and sales and whatnot. So, this shows you this man could have had a very normal life if he would not have been set up by this psycho that had him tortured for, decades in that damn asylum. And even going so far as when somebody ordered like 3 horror films to get to watch for Halloween, and he gave them 3 completely different films in those jackets. And when she brought him back, he was like, you really shouldn't be watching horror films. They're really not good for the soul. Nobody needs to see all that killing and blood. And then he goes home. He ended up having to stay late. He gets home, and that's when he finds his wife dead. And blood everywhere, completely massacred. And I was very fearful for his son for a couple of seconds, but then he found him with that note. The devil will have his or Satan will have his vengeance. And it was on the back of the Camp Redwood flyer about the concert that's coming up. So like right then and there, he's like, okay, I know what I need to do. He takes his son, who he named after his little brother, Bobby. We'll see why that's significant in the next episode. And he took him to his aunt's house. his, the sister of his wife, and he tells him that, I'm sorry, your sister's dead. Please take care of Bobby when he's old enough. Let him know what happened, and please explain to him that I didn't leave him because I didn't want him, but I have to protect him. As long as this guy is out there, his son is not safe. So he leaves him with someone he knows will raise him well, and he goes off and starts his mission. And we see he's got on the black raincoat, and he's got the keys jingling again. So he puts himself in that persona so he can go and do what needs to be done. And it's such a sad ending because he really deserved the happy ending that he had. But now it's all disrupted, and he's got to go kill again. So, now there are 2 last names on his list. It isn't just Margaret. He has to take care of Ramirez now as well. And we end this with at the end of the execution scene with Brooke being resuscitated. Turns out she wasn't actually executed. The last chemical was switched to where it just made it look like she was dead. So legally, to everyone, she served her sentence. She's been executed for her crimes, and she's done and gone. And she's resuscitated, and we see that it was Nurse Donna that actually brought her back. And to me, the outfit that Donna was wearing that whole time, it reminded me very much of the Collective from the Apocalypse season. And I'm wondering if that's going to be a tie-in later. The Cooperative, right. Yes, thank you. I'm really wondering if that's going to be something a connection that comes up later. If it is, I think it'll be very interesting. But I think it may have just been a small nod to that season. Probably nothing will come of it. But it was interesting, the outfit they chose.
An executioner always has to hide their face, but the particular mask they used, you're exactly right. It is very much kind of saying, well, remember us last year? We were the cooperative. Yeah. So you're right.
It was an interesting tidbit. And that brings us basically to the end of the ep. So, David, I'll start with you this time.
Before we start, they keep on they kind of hinted that a lot of murderers are people that go to Alaska to hide out. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's right. That's where Benjamin and his wife were living in Alaska. Yeah. I mean, which makes sense because there's a lot of folks that live off the grid in Alaska. I mean, there's several TV shows about those people and their day-to-day life. They're quite interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead. What are your final thoughts here on the wrap up for this episode?
So yeah, it was a good episode. Like Andy said earlier, it's they hyped up this to be episode 100. By the time I was binging the 3 latest episodes, it dawned on me wait a minute, this is actually episode 100. It just didn't feel like it was skeptical of an episode of 100, So, but for a typical episode of American Horror Story, it was still a solid episode. I can't have any complaints. The only complaint I kind of had was I just wish that they just expanded on the 11 murders that Jingles and Ramirez did to see, okay, was he killing also or was he not?
I think, Fandom, that they might have purposely done this because we have the sister show, American Crime Story, and we may one day be getting, they might do a Richard Ramirez season where it actually follows the true crime side of it.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I'll have to check that show out.
They've done season 1 was O.J. Simpson. Season 2 was Versace. And season 3 is coming out as called Impeachment, which is about Bill Clinton and...
I have, not that you said the Versace thing, I have heard of that. I didn't know it was a full series they were doing. Okay.
Yeah. So
nice. Continue.
I was talking to someone about that the other day.
Interesting.
Good. Sorry, David.
No, I was finished. As you want to give me rating.
Okay. All right. My bad. All right. Andy, you go ahead, and then we'll give our ratings for this episode.
Yeah.
last one.
No, I really enjoyed the episode. As I said earlier, the only thing that I complain about is the fact that they called it episode 100 and drew such attention to it, because it was a solid episode, but you just fluffed it up. As I said, it was all sizzle and no steak. Yeah, if you're going to sell something, you want it to deliver. So yeah, that's all I could criticize about the episode. And yeah, I'm ready to give my rating when you guys are.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, give your rating now.
Yeah, well, I'm giving this episode just a solid 7 out of 10. Or stretching the saviors, whatever you want to say.
David?
7.5 out of VHS tapes.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'll go with 7.5 out of VHS tapes also. Yeah, it was a good ep, but there's still a bit more oomph, I think, that they could have given to it. But it was enjoyable. So now we get to I think within this sequence of episodes, probably my favorite one that happened out of 5, 6, and 7. And this one, we start off in 1948 when Camp Redwood was known as the Camp Golden Red Star. And this is where we get the full, origin story of Benjamin. And the first thing I got to say really is, one, kudos for it being very reminiscent of Friday the 13th, not just in using the camp, but in Benjamin's mother. And also, Lily Rabe is a damn legend. The pain, anger, and anguish that she puts into this character is absolutely excellent. There's no other word for it. She was great in this role. And I'm really glad that she cameoed for just this little bit. Let's see what else we got. Let's go down a little bit. Benjamin, you could almost tell by how awkward he was in the beginning of the season that he did have a rough childhood. He's a kid, his mom obviously loves his little brother a whole lot more. He lost his dad to a war, so that makes things doubly tough for his mom. And she basically had the same position that Bertie had in 1984. And she also got, free childcare, essentially, with being at the camp. And being a single mom in that time, that's a perk that she couldn't pass up. And, Benjamin's sitting there with his brother. She asks, why aren't they out playing with the other kids? And Benjamin's like, they don't like me. And of course, his brother loves him, and he's sitting there right with him. He's not outside playing with the other kids either, because he wants to, keep his brother company. And just from this one scene, we see that Bobby is definitely the favored brother. And she ridicules and talks down to Benjamin a lot. And, being the oldest child, he ends up having to babysit, his brother in all of their goings out, going swimming or doing anything in the camp. And, he does try to be friendly with the other camp goers, but, it doesn't work out. They make fun of him and they bully him, and it sucks because children are freaking horrible. And, we see the camp counselors that are supposed to be watching the swimmers in the lake, if any swimmers are there. They sneak off into the trees to have a small sex episode. And seriously, you're in the middle of the woods and you're not hidden away in anything. You're literally in the middle of a path with tons of kids around and other people that are at the camp. Anyone could have walked up on you at any given time. Why would you pick that spot to go off and have your little sex moment? It was stupid and irresponsible. Because what happened? Had you been there, you could have alerted those boaters that there was a child in the water that could get swept up in the current if they start their engine. But that didn't happen. And Benjamin, he's a kid. You know, you can't really blame him. He does want to go off and try to see what all the other kids are doing, and he's curious about what the counselors are doing. So he's in the tree spying on them with their little episode, and he hears a splash. He runs back to the lake, sees that his brother is, you know, essentially okay at the moment. But then the other adults that are there, they start their boat, and it pulls Bobby under, and he ends up getting killed because he hits the motor blades of their boat. And again, kudos to Lily Ray, because she sold all of her anger and rage that her baby boy was dead. And she blamed every last counselor there. She blamed Benjamin and vowed that she would have her revenge for her baby boy. And we see that that is exactly what happened. You know, Margaret wasn't the first person to commit a massacre there. It was her. She started it all after her kid died. You know, so rough was she in her grief that she almost killed Benjamin also. That comes up a little bit later. So what do you guys think of this opening sequence? I'll start with you, Andy, and then you go, BBM.
Holy duck shit. It was crazy opening. I would be surprised, you know, if Lily Rabe gets nominated for an Emmy just for the opening sequence of this episode. It was so freaking intense, and it seemed like it was an episode just to itself. It was that full on. They, like, Lily Rabe always plays a good role in American Horror Story. She's one of my favorite actresses in the show. So very good to get her back. Is she coming back for another episode? I couldn't tell you yet. But anyway, it was good to see her. And, you know, watching her react with Benjamin, just the absolute disdain she had for her own child. Like, she looked at him with absolute hatred, and then just looked at the other child, and it was like, oh, look at you. You're the baby. You're the one that I love. Hey, fandom. you know what that's like to be the baby and to be loved. You know, get a little bit of that baby love.
Always.
I was one of the, I'm the eldest child, so, you know, we had to work hard for our spot, and, you know, on the dinner table. If you didn't get in there and get aggressive, you know, all the younger pups would come and eat all your food. But anyways, yes, I thought it was a solid opening. The whole you know, tribute basically to Friday the 13th and the original Friday the 13th, incorporating it being the mother as the killer. Loved it. You know, you couldn't ask for a better connection to what this entire season has been based around, apart from, you know, the spiritual side of it. When we're looking at the slasher side of it, it's really been coolly based around the Friday the 13th franchise, and I very much appreciated that they incorporated them up. Watching obviously the kids you know, be outcasts, that was, you know, always, you know, Benjamin was always going to be an outcast. And, you know, you see when he interacts with the girls, you get the whole, you know, how's the water? And then the water's cold, but you got blubber, so you'll be fine, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, all the mean things kids say. And then, you know, Benjamin's inquisitiveness, obviously, to want to watch two teenagers have sex. You know, that's a common thing that you'll see in those type of movies, so slash flicks. So, you know, it's good that they didn't ignore it and they did include it. I think that's the closest to nudity they've ever got on AHS, like, because she had a shirt off, but you couldn't see anything. But Would you? Yeah, I can't think of a scene that would be more naked.
I gotta think of like Coven or so. Maybe. Actually,
I
no. I don't
know.
think they ever
They
did
didn't.
really.
They didn't show much skin in Coven at all. Everything was.
Outside of them showing like Evan Peters' ass like almost every season, that's about it. They usually don't go
Yeah.
too hardcore with that.
No, it's something they kind of usually skip away. So they did break grounds really within their own right, so to speak. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the beginning part of the episode and watching, the intense moment where obviously Lily Rab just loses the plot and goes after the counselors. That's fucking crazy.
Word. Go ahead, David.
So I was watching this episode on the bus. So just imagining that scene comes up, and I'm just like, please don't just look over at my phone and see what I'm watching. It's American Horror Story, people, nothing else. But yeah, watching this episode and just like whenever like we watch this season and we get to like I think it was episode 2 or 3 where Mr. Jingle sees that one person who was like that whole what is it thing they do every year where they dress up as Mr. Jingles and like do pranks, and you get to that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
kid that pretty much
He
was
sees the nerdy
reminding him of
kid.
himself. So it's like, wow.
Mhm.
Exactly. And it pretty much goes back in this episode where he was being picked on. He wasn't, that loved by his mom. And then we pretty much get this episode, which even Andy was bringing up. Like, this was pretty much a homage to, like, the first Friday 13th, where it was like the kid, Jason, was supposed to be watched by the camp counselors. They weren't there. And next thing you know, he ends up dying. And then the mom pretty much gets her revenge. So it was pretty much great there how they did that. But even though, Jason, Billy doesn't come back and like start doing a killing spree unless he did, and then he was the one who put the head in the damn refrigerator.
It was Bobby. Watch out.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I honestly don't think we're ever gonna see Bobby, but it would be cool if we did. Just for that little bit, maybe he can come back and help his mom to move on, since his brother's there now. So he always loved his brother, as far as I could tell. So they could have that complete unit, and he could be the bridge that helps calm the storm. But I guess we'll see. But again, seriously, that part was played very well. Young Benjamin, I thought he did a really good job in his role as well, and it really helped establish a lot. Like that limp that we see Benjamin has now in this episode. We saw that he has that limp because his mom stabbed him in the calf while he was trying to run away from her. So it's been a lifelong, tragedy that has weighed on him. He thinks about his brother every day. He loves his brother, but this whole thing happened, and that put a very dark spot on his life ever after. Let's see, where do we go next? I'm trying to group a few things together. Donna explains to Brooke exactly what happened. She switched the last chemical, so she was able to pull Brooke back from the brink of death. She's says that it's going to be hard. You got to wait till this stuff gets out of your system, and you're going to need help for it. And what we see basically is Brooke going through withdrawals from this heavy chemical that was put in her system. Like, Donna actually has to tie her to her bed so she doesn't like jump off and do some crazy shit for a while. So it takes a little bit for that to happen. During it, we see Brooke has like nightmares about stuff that happens, and Donna she's there. She helps get her through all of that. And after a bit, though, Brooke is still suspicious. So once she gets to an amount of strength that she feels comfortable with, she basically holds Donna at like needle point to her eye, and it's a very small needle, but it doesn't matter. If something sharp is going in your eye, you have a good chance of not surviving that. So she holds her next to her eye, and this is where we see it. It further confirms that Donna really is remorseful about what she's done. And she says, I know what's going to happen, at the end of life, what waits for people in the next world, and I want to make sure that I'm going to the good place and not the bad one. So she is trying to correct a wrong with helping Brooke. And, you know, she has like passports already in the making and new identification for her so she can start a life fresh and clear. Because to the real world on paper, Brooke is dead. She has nothing to worry about. She just needs to get new identification and she can go on. And she sees in the newspaper that the concert at Redwood is happening. And she surmises to herself that that's why she's still alive. She has to go make Margaret pay for her crime. She has to go kill Margaret. Donna tries to talk her out of that because she's like, you know, you went through all this. You don't need to do that. You can start your new life and be done with all of this and be happy for the rest of your years. And Brooke is like, that bitch took a whole decade away from me. Like the 80s was, she says, like the awakening of America. And I miss that. I could have been a part of that, could have been living in that, being happy, finding happiness, finding, you know, meaning and love. And she missed that because she had to be locked up for someone else's crimes that she didn't commit. And she wants to, you know, write that in her mind. So as a last ditch effort, you know, Donna trying to convince her not to do this, she takes her to a roller rink because by this time the 80s are almost over, and she wants to show Brooke that, you know, you can still have a little piece of the 80s and move on. She takes her to a roller rink and they're having fun. You know, she does get Brooke to forget about the horrors of their past for a bit. And they meet this guy that, you know, says he needs a ride somewhere because his car broke down or some such random excuse. And they're like, nah, you know, we don't pick up strangers and whatnot. So they get outside to their car. The car doesn't want to start. They're looking under the hood and the same guy comes up and says, you know, I can fix it. And he does. I'm pretty sure he's also the one that sabotaged it. And they end up, you know, giving him a ride because he helped fix the car. Of course, it ends up, you know, this guy starts trying to take them hostage. And while they're pulled over, a cop shows up. A little bit before that, though. And this is where I really love the character that Brooke has developed into. She's in what the guy's saying and seeing him like take hits of cocaine. She knows some random shit is coming. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a freaking Bowie knife. And if you've seen one of these things, you know that they're not as big as like the blade that Crocodile Dundee had in his movie, but they're decently close. It's almost like a miniature version of that, but still very decent for stabbing or slashing. And she's holding that in her hand, telling this dude like, no, you need to get the fuck out the car because we're just not, you know, feeling taking you anywhere. The cop shows up. They panic a little bit. She puts the knife away, and in questioning the cop, they say they don't really know this dude. He just convinced us to give him a ride. And the cop's like, didn't you see the flyers or hear the news about these girls going missing on the highway? I need to see some identification. And dude in the back, who is, I believe, Dylan McDermott, came back to play this character. He's from Murder House, is the first episode we saw him in, I believe. The first season we saw him in. And he shoots the cop. He gets out of the car once he shoots him once, and the girls automatically take off, which was the exact response they should have done. He ends up killing the cop and taking his car. We thought that maybe, you know, they would have gotten away, but a little later on, we see that he catches up to them and he takes them hostage. But again, Brooke, in her awesome hardened development, you know, she's got some tough skin now. This dude has a shotgun to her face, literally, and she's just like, yeah, okay, I know what my choices are. You know, fuck her. She shouldn't let you get a ride in the first place, and we'll just go and do whatever so I can live, and maybe she dies. And she plays him. You know, she like revs up the car to make sure she gets Donna's attention so Donna isn't still knocked out. And as soon as like the guy figures out something's up, he goes to shoot again, I think, and she pushes like the barrel of the gun out the way, grabs his smaller gun and shoots him and like guns it a little bit to, you know, disorient him. but they're in a truck. So when she backs up over Donna, Donna has the good sense enough, luckily, to just lay down and let the truck pass her. And eventually what happens is they basically tie him to a post on the side of the road, and she cuts his thumbs off. Like, yeah, you're never going to be hitchhiking again. And then they leave him there. Does he die there? Probably not, but he probably does get picked up by the cops pretty soon after, because somebody's going to drive by and see him and report him. So from there, Brooke says, you know, you can go. We're close enough to the camp. I'll just walk from here. And Donna, which I think is a credit to her character now, also says, you know, I can't let you go by yourself. I'll help you see this through to the end. And they end up getting in the car and driving off. There's a few other things to touch on for this episode, but we'll just tackle that chunk to get them out of the way. Andy, I'll start with you. How'd you like that sequence?
Look, Donna taking care of Brooke in the hotel. She was paying the penance, you know, like she was truly sorry for what she did to her, and this was her only way of paying it back. And yeah, so I say kudos to her for making all the effort of becoming an executioner just so that you could set someone free. Can't be an easy task. But yeah, no, the roller ring scene. Sorry, coughing fit.
Drink some water. No worries.
Yeah. So yeah, love that. The whole, you know, it just suited everything that was the 80s. You know, I'm a kid of the 80s, so you know, I was skating in the skating rings in the mid 80s to the late 90s when I was a teenager. So yeah, that really was reminiscent of a time that's long gone, and I think it was a perfect way of Donna to show that little bit of you know, this is what you missed out on.
Hey, yo, actually, and real quick, Cammy just reminded me in the comments, the song they were playing at the roller rink was Armageddon It by Def Leppard. Def Leppard is one of my favorite old school 80s, 90s rock bands, and I highly recommend y'all go check them out if you don't know who they are.
Cool. So yeah, no, very much dug that scene. Totally agreed. What was Dylan McDermott's character's name actually this in the episode?
Excuse me. I don't remember. I'm not sure that it was actually mentioned. Excuse me. Bruce. Yeah. Yes, you're right.
Bruce. Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, straight away, Bruce coming up to talking to them even inside the roll arena, and they got the creep vibe. They got the creep vibe for a fucking good damn reason. This guy was a serial killer. Women, please, and harmless, defenseless men, please, if someone comes up to you in a public place and, you know, tries to get you to take them somewhere and you don't know them, don't fucking do it. You know, there are taxis out there. They can get a taxi. They can get an Uber. Not back in the 1980s.
Back then they could have still called AAA, damn it.
Exactly.
Go back inside the roller rink and use the phone.
Exactly. I mean, that, like, yeah, in Australia we say the RACQ or whatever state you're in, but you know, yeah, you don't get a stranger to fix your car and then give them a lift. You know, even as nice as the word karma is, sometimes there's a grey line there that kind of, if you cross it, you're tempting your own life, and it's not worth it. So I'm just telling you, just don't do it. Find another way to pay it forward or do nice things than picking up strangers. We saw what picking up strangers did last season when Miss Mead picked up the sacrifice Langdon's christening, basically. So yeah, don't do it. Don't do it, people. What else did we cover in this episode? So the fact that he gets his comeuppance eventually down the road after he's killed a police officer, killed a guy in traffic, and he's about to tow us down the street and take Donna for a ride so that the bitumen can pull her to shreds and pieces. Not good at all. But Brooke, Donna, think smart, prevailed in the situation. This doesn't happen in real life very often, so
Yeah, Brooke is no longer a damsel in distress.
No,
she is not for the fuck shit at all, and I'm here for it. I love the development she's gotten.
Yeah, I reckon the next episode we're going to see like her full on kung fu fighting against Richard Ramirez. It's going to be full on. Like she's going to have some like dark magical powers that can go up against the forces of Satan, and or maybe it's some light magical powers. Sprinkle a little bit of fairy dust on it, people. Whatever you want. But anyway, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, I really like how they've had Brooke, definitely step into the plate in the beginnings of these episodes. She has been, kept her chin, her head held tall the whole time, back straight, sticking to her guns, and I'm digging it. David, what you got?
I hope they didn't dumb down Dawn in this episode, because her as a psychiatrist having these interviews with several murderers, she couldn't pick up the signs that, hey,
no
maybe this
red
guy is
flags
actually a murderer.
Noticed. Right. Yeah, it makes you
She's
wonder,
like,
doesn't it?
I trust you because you went underneath the hood of my car and helped. I'm like, really? Just really? And also, is that the same actor who was in Asylum, who was like the son of the main character,
Yes, the son of
the
Boniface.
reporter?
Yeah, same guy
I
that
thought
played
this
the
was gonna
dad
be
in
the
Murder
same
House.
guy. I thought this was gonna be like the same guy, but then with his thumbs cut off, I was like, okay, I guess that isn't him. But who knows?
I think a few people that I saw reviews, they thought that was going to be him too.
Yeah, different character.
Mm.
But speaking of that, we did forget to mention in the previous episode that when the mistress of Macabre, Margaret Booth, starts buying up properties, the first property that they mention is Briarcliff Manor, which is the asylum. And then the next link that we get to another character in the show is that she buys what's his name, John Gacy's place.
Yep.
Yeah,
and the Winchester Mansion.
Yeah, so these things occurred in hotels. So so there was some good throwbacks there. But sorry to interrupt. I just while you're talking about Asylum, I'm thinking Briarcliff. We've got to talk about it.
Yeah, I did forget to mention that. Thanks. Yeah. Go ahead, David.
Also, within this episode, I think this is when they tell us that it's been 4 years that Brooke has been locked up. And within all those years, and yet she's still denied Satan. She didn't just give up and you know what, make the deal. I'll join Satan Ramirez and Mr. Jangles. But she just tough it through. It's you know what, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. So you give props to Brooke and his character.
Yeah, she absolutely stuck to her guns. And again, that's why I think she was not lying when she says, she was a virgin the whole time. I really don't think she slept with that guy. Montana is just in her grief about her brother, and she can't blame anyone else because the guy that actually did it is already dead. So she has to put that blame on Brooke. I mean, it's almost and I'm mad I have to even make this reference. It just popped into my head, but it's almost like Clark when she went into her self-imposed exile after killing the mountain people in the 100. She wanted to blame Lexa, and that's what she did, but it was also because she was too afraid to put it on herself too angry to do that at what she had to do. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I really, really like how Brooke grew in the years that she's had to spend in prison and dealing with this horribleness. It's the same thing that Benjamin had to deal with. You know, he was painted as a monster unnecessarily, but it does seem that she luckily escaped the torture that he had to go through in an asylum. I think she was just locked up in prison. She didn't have to be committed to, you know, electroshocks and whatnots. But you see, I think for that, those are all of our Donna and Brooke scenes, which I, again, very much enjoyed. Now, at the camp, you know, we see that Benjamin, he arrives back there, and he sees the nerdy kid that he had killed. And, you know, the kid already realizes by then that he's dead. That's why he can't leave when Benjamin asks him why he's still there. And then we see the other people that were cosplaying as Jingles, and they take him down. They get ready to kill him, but one of them says, you know, Montana said no killing until the concert. So that clearly establishes Montana as like the ringleader of all of the vengeful ghosts that are there. And they tie Jingles up, they take him to her, and they have this, you know, town hall ghost meeting of what to do with Jingles. And Jingles is surprised that like all of them are still there, and Xavier's like, what do you mean why we're still here? You killed half of us, that's why we're still here. But at that point in time, Xavier doesn't understand or know exactly what else was happening, you know, beyond his death. So Jingles actually is a bit fascinated, I think, for a second, because he asks, like, well, do you feel pain as a ghost? And I can't say that he may have been thinking of, actually looking in chat, thank you, KC, for coming through. Have a good night. Also, some other folks that jumped in and joined us. Peter Griffin is in the spot. Giggity, thank you for always coming through. I think there was one other person, TGP, the Granite person, is also in the chat. Thanks for coming through, y'all. Appreciate it. But see, back to Benjamin here. He's, you know, asking if they feel pain, and they're like, well, yeah, we feel pain, but we also feel, you know, pleasure as well as fear. And once they start talking about that, you know, Chet says that, you know, there's someone else here that, you know, terrorizes all of us. You know, she doesn't go after really the living, but she goes after the ghosts of all the camp counselors that were there. And I'm going to give myself kudos, because I always thought that there was a third killer running around the camp that we have not seen yet. And lo and behold, now we know it was Benjamin's mom. And as soon as Chet described her as a woman in like a white nightgown, Benjamin already understood. He said, I know who she is. That's my mom. And then he gives them the backstory. And when the camera pans to like look at all of their faces, it's like it clicks in all of their minds right away. Like, holy shit. Okay. There may be a reason why he actually turned out really screwy and whatnot. And I don't think at that point in time that they blame him too much anymore once they put all of the puzzle pieces that they have together. Like, they know now that it was because of Margaret that a lot of this started. But even further now, they have the full understanding of why the campground seems to be cursed the way it is. And Benjamin, he asks if they can take him to wherever she resides, mostly. And they again try to volunteer Chet to take him over there. He's like, yeah, I'm never going near that place again. I think Chet is just done being volunteered to go anywhere with anyone, because we saw how that ended up for him the last time. So he's like, yeah, no, that's just not going to happen. So it ends up being Xavier that takes Benjamin to the cabin where his mom lives. And once she comes back out and they have their conversation, it's chilling again, because Lily Rabe, like, she goes from neutral to extreme cold and vengeance within like seconds in the scene. And it's her, she can be civil, but then her rage comes out. Like when he says his brother's name, she automatically jumps on him like, don't ever say his name. You don't deserve to do that. And it's just a brilliant conversation to watch. And this again is another, Game of Thrones reference for me, because she gives him that line like it should have been you. It should have been you. She gives him the damn Catelyn line. And also, just before she does that, when she's talking about Bobby, she tells him that, Margaret was already, just two shots away from acting on her ridiculous, crazy impulses. But she whispered in Margaret's ear and helped to speed that process along. And she's saying all this, saying that I want you to know that it was me. I pushed her to do that. You took away the one thing that I love, so I took away the one thing that you loved at that time. She pulled full fucking Lady Olenna on his ass. I want you to know it was me. And as harsh as that whole thing was, the mix of the Lady Olenna and Catelyn in that conversation was just fucking phenomenal. And I really do hope Lily Rabe gets nominated for something for her portrayal this season. That one episode is all it took, and she stole the whole damn season for me, anyways. And I think I thought it was just absolutely awesome. JD, my brother, has stepped into the chat room. Thank you for coming through. Let's see. There's a couple more things that happen after that. Let's see. Oh, actually, we'll finish out the scenes with Benjamin and his mom. She eventually, voices all of her rage and then disappears on him. And he's, still in his feelings. He ends up at the docks where his brother died, and she comes out yelling at him, and he bucks back and he says, you don't get a claim on where he died. You don't get a claim on grieving for him. I grieve for him too. He was my brother. I think about him every day. I named my son for him. That's why it's significant that his son's name is Bobby. He named him for his brother. And at that moment is where she does feel a little bit of sympathy and maybe even a tiny bit of caring for him, because she does him a solid. I think she does him a solid in the next moments. He explains why he left his son, and she's like, no, you should leave and go back to your son. And he says, no, I can't, because if I do, Ramirez will always come for me, and he's going to come after me by going through my loved ones, and he does not want to put his son in that kind of danger. And she tells him, he has a very high power at his back. So if he dies, Satan's just going to resurrect him, and he can go and do whatever he wants. But exception to the rule, if you kill yourself here, then you can be resurrected automatically for how many ever times you need to be until you can get him on the camp. And he ends up taking that advice, and he ends up stabbing himself, and we see his ghost, standing over his body, and takes the knife, and he basically goes and prepares himself for what he needs to do for the fight that's coming. So before, there was only one person left on his kill list. One person. But now there are at least two, because he has to take out Margaret, which I think they're probably going to give that kill to Brooke, but he has to take out Ramirez. That's the main threat to his son. Margaret isn't going to care about that. Right now, he's only focused on protecting his baby boy. So he has to be there, and he did what he had to do in taking himself out. So he was able to take out Ray. There's only a few more scenes after that, so we'll cut it there. David, I'll start with you. What'd you think of that whole sequence with his mom?
That was a fitting end to the Lady in White, unless she's gonna come back again this season. But just how they just tie that in with her, confrontation with Mr. Jingles, and apologize if you can actually hear the police sirens in the background. But yeah,
The sounds in New York, man. I'm used to it.
But just hearing that the lady let a line where she was like, "This, it was me who did all of that." I was like, "Wow!" I thought it was just like Margaret on her own, which inevitably was going to be Margaret doing it, but she just like pushed it along, and it pretty much was just a callback to what she did years ago, where she just killed a whole bunch of campers. So I'm curious how no one kind of like tied that in, or so like, wait a minute, this actually happened years ago, but it was with someone else. And oh my gosh, there was something I was supposed to bring up, but it crossed my mind. Hopefully, I'll get it back later on. But yeah, oh, wait. The whole it was touching that he actually did name his son after his brother that did pass away too. That was a good nod to it. Oh yeah, now I remember. The character's name is Lavian, and this reminded me of freaking Lav. Shout out to Lav, wherever you
Yeah,
are. We
I
missed you,
just
damn it.
read that. I didn't know her name until a couple minutes ago when I was looking through the synopsis. I was like, Lavinia, oh, I miss my love. That is the exact first thought that I had. So yes, Lavi, we miss you. So and we know you're busy with the real world and the children's. So we do hope to see you back on the tubes in the future. Just so you know. Andy, you want to give us your thoughts on the whole sequence with Jingles and his mom from the flashback all the way up to where he kills himself on the dock?
Sorry. So yeah, well, the mother-son interaction in the shed where everything just the revelations have just come untold, and we see Lily is such a great actress, as I said in the when we were talking about the opening scene alone. She did such a phenomenal job. In the next time we see her and the interaction between her and adult Benji, there is even more disdain and there is more hatred, for adult Benjamin than she had for child Benjamin. And this is just like, I don't have that kind of relationship with my mum. We get along well. So to have a parent absolutely hate you is a foreign thing for me. But some of you live with that in life, where you either hate your parents or your parents hate you. But it's a sad thing. But Lily Rabb did a fantastic job of portraying this character. I can't criticize her to a fault, apart from I kind of wanted the scene to be over because I was just feeling so emotionally sorry for Benjamin's character, and because he went from being just this one-layered character to this multi-layered character, and even in interviews he said he only took the job because it was such a layered character, because he didn't just want to play the killer in a slasher movie or TV series. So, and really, John Carroll Lynch and Lily Rabb have just done a fabulous job in this episode. Every actor did a fabulous job, really, down to the minor ones that were playing Midge and whatever from the 70s. They've all done a good job. The scene between Benjamin and his mother on the dock, compared to the scene where we find out, hey, everything Margaret did was because I told her to do it. She was wrong in the head from the beginning, and the mother knows when she sees her son looking, happy and that's everything, Anyway, so she wanted to take everything from him, and she did, and I thought it was really good. I mean, obviously, going back to when Benji was a child, we would obviously have to go back at least 20 years for that. However, I like the fact that it was in 1948, because then it's like 1984. Like, it's just switching the 4 and the 8 kind of around. So yeah,
Guaranteed they did that on purpose.
I think they would have. So yeah, and yes, the doc. Benji, professing his love for his brother, and standing up to his mum and saying, fuck you, you don't own grief. Grief is everyone's. You can hold the rage all you want, but you don't own my right to fucking grieve. And he did it. And she saw the better man that he had obviously grown up to be, and felt pity for the fact that she was basically, if he stayed there, he was gonna die at the hands of Richard Ramirez, and he would end up burning in hell like she wanted him to, when really, possibly she could encourage him to do something different that could mean saving her grandson's life, because Ramirez is going to go back one day if he survives. Obviously we're talking TV show Ramirez here. We're not talking about real life Ramirez, because we know that he actually he got caught. He doesn't get let out and doesn't go to Camp Redwood and does all this shit. So anyway. But I thought it was an excellent scene. I thought it was an excellent episode in general.
Yeah. Again, I totally agree. Yeah, the scenes with Lily Rabe and with Benjamin, I think were the best throughout the whole episode. And yeah, I just absolutely adore it. I don't know if Lily Rabe is going to be back for any more episodes. I hope that maybe at the end, she does show up, and then maybe we do see Bobby. But we'll see. I think we got about two episodes left for the season, so we'll see how it pans out. Let's see. Then we get to what I call our Stranger Things reference for the episode. The name of the group is Kamagugu or something, or that sounds like that. And if you didn't know, this is the band that came up with the Neverending Story theme song. And that's why I equated it to Stranger Things. While they're talking about what they're going to do, however, they say they're not going to do the Neverending Story song. We have other songs that we can do. And Margaret's assistant, Leslie Jordan, he's bringing a huge gift basket with all types of goodies and snacks and whatnots for the band. And he ends up finding them all massacred on the tour bus. Now, the reason this happens is by this time, Ramirez has gotten back to the camp. And, he sees one of the roadies that are working with the group. And the roadie asks him, like, who are you with, dude? Because obviously he doesn't recognize him. And he's like, Satan. And the roadie, he's a rocker. So he just smiles and he's like, nice, and walks off. So Ramirez doesn't go after him at all. But later on he meets the lead singer of the Kamagugu band, and the guy asks him, like, okay, well, do you want like a picture or autograph or something? And Ramirez is like, oh no, we already have your autograph. Once you make a deal with Satan, you're expected to keep your part of the bargain, and you didn't. So we find out that he and his band, by extension, are only famous because of whatever deal he made in the past with Satan. So they all get done because he apparently reneged on whatever the deal was, which was probably killing for nothing, and he didn't want to do that. So he's been taken out. Leslie Jordan's character finds them on the tour bus. He freaks out, rightfully so. I think I would have the same reaction if you could ever actually get me into the woods to be at anybody's camp. You probably won't, just so you know. I don't do nature like that. Mm-mm. And let's see, after that, we fast forward where Margaret finds out about the news. She's a bit tripped up and trying to figure out how to cover it. Trevor's with her, but while they're there, across the way, Montana shows herself to Trevor. And he, walks off to go and find her. And he says, I thought you were dead. And she's like, well, yeah, I am. but I'm still here, as you can see. And he's like, I don't care if you are a ghost, I missed you, I still love you, and blah blah blah. And they start making out, which I guess for Montana that's not surprising. I don't know that Trevor will actually die. I mean, he might
That's
actually
Hilda's
want.
fate. That's Hilda's fate.
I mean, right? That's what I'm saying. See, I don't think he'll actually be murdered, though. I think he'll either allow it to happen, like he won't fight back. He'll want it to happen just so he could be with Montana, or he'll just take himself out again so he can be with Montana. So I don't see him leaving the camp either way. Which honestly, for him, that's kind of fitting because they really were into each other when it started. So wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened. Let's see, what's the last bit that we have here? Actually, I think that may be the last bit we have to talk about, and then we're done. Yeah. Kajagoogoo, that's what it is, not Kamagugu, Kajagoogoo. Yeah, they end up dying, and that is one of the final scenes because we already talked about Benjamin and his mom. So that last tidbit, and just overall, how did you guys find it, and also rate the episode? David, I'll start with you here.
For me, it was just the whole Lady in White, Lavian and Mr. Jangles thing that really just brought it home in this damn episode. Like, it's probably like one of my favorite scenes of this season by far. Because of that, it's like a 8.5 for me. And then just setting up, okay, who's gonna take out who? It's gonna be Mr. Jangles trying to take out Ramirez, but as a ghost. Seeing the whole Trevor and Montana reunion thing, and it's like, God damn, they actually gonna truly kill Trevor. Like, why? Damages, why? What else freaking happened in this episode? I'm blanking out. Let me go back to my notes here. That was pretty much it that I can recall. That was like the highlights for me in this episode, really. Like, I kind of wish that they've introduced or just like kind of like foreshadowed the Lady in White in earlier episodes, just like here and there, and just be like, it could have been like a thing they could have said like during the campfire, like, oh, like there's like a story about this like Lady in White here and there, just like foreshadow a little bit early, but oh no, still good of an episode.
Would you rate it?
Oh, I said 8.5 out
8.5, sorry.
of. Dang, I can't think of anything, honestly. It'll come back to me.
All right. Andy, what you got?
Yes, I very much enjoyed this episode, as I've said throughout the entire recap of this episode. Basically, just due to all the terrific acting done by both Lily Rabe and John Carroll Lynch. They really stole the show this episode. Very much enjoyed getting the cameo from Dylan McDermott as well. Any of the original OG people are good with me. So yeah, very much top stuff. What else to say? Looking forward to the next episode, and I probably would have to go. I'd say an 8. I'm going under BBM this time, which is usually I'm over you, but I've been under on all of our episodes tonight. So you must be enjoying it a bit more than I am.
Probably.
But I did like it. I'm not complaining. But yeah, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I will second that notion also. 8 out of 10 for this episode. There were some very, very good hitting moments. Like I said, Brooke's development and all of the scenes with Lily Rabe. She was absolutely brilliant. Very much looking forward to what they'll do in the last 2 episodes. We will be back to discuss those probably on David's channel, so y'all stay tuned for that. And I know Gray is going to be doing some discussions. I believe I'll be joining her for that, so I want set your notifications to Gray's channel if you haven't already. And actually, let me find the name of the channel so I make sure I get it right. If you want to check out someone else that does some good reviews about American Horror Story, Mary Girl Moody also does well. She has panel discussions and different theories and breakdowns that she does. So check her out. Also, GameSpot Universe does some good breakdowns and theory videos for it as well. So thank you again, guys, for joining us tonight. Andy, you're about to say something?
Yeah, Skylar Ganto is another good channel to
yes,
to
I watch him. Yeah, I watched him also.
I think Real Talk as well. You would
real talk, and I want to say Think Story also does some decent predictions about it as well. So go check all those guys out. He hasn't put out the last 2 episodes of Theories, but Matty Rants also does good stuff. And if you like RuPaul's Drag Race and like RuPaul UK and whatnot, he also does breakdowns on those episodes too. So go ahead, check him out. All those descriptions are down below in my description box. You can find their links there. Thank you for joining us, everyone that was in the chat. JD, Cammy, Peter Griffin. Let's see how OTDA had stopped in earlier. TGP, the Granite Person. Dana McKay had stopped in. T-Baby was also in for a minute. I think, or KC, Atheist, he was also in. Cameo, and I think 1 or 2 other people, but I can't scroll all the way back to the beginning. So if I missed you, apologize. Shout yourself out in the comment section later and let us know what you thought about the episodes and what you would rate them. We will be back after the season finale to talk about the last 2 episodes on David's channel, I believe. Set your notifications to all of us, though. We might bounce around more than that. So I will see you guys probably tomorrow night. If you want to stop by around 8, I'll be doing a fan casting for the House of the Dragon series that we just heard that we're getting. BBM will also be joining me for that, as well as John DeVelto and Chrissy of Oldstones. So tune in for some just random fun castings we'll be doing about our favorite dragon lords and ladies. Gentlemen, though, tell the folks where they can find you, or if you got anything coming up in the meantime. Andy, I'll start with you.
Yes, of course, I'm the Fat Dingo, and you know me from my own channel, Fat Dingo. You probably also seen me around on the West Kurosi Ninjas channel, and maybe a couple of early Citadel of Trivia vids as well. So yes, but you'll always see me around the community, popping up in different chat boxes and live streams. I always like to work with AK and Fandom D Saint and our girl Lav that can't be here tonight, but was definitely here in spirit, and she is endeavoring to make the final 2 episodes as part of our little horror club. So yes, thanks for having me on your channel, AK. It's been a pleasure to work with 2 wonderful people that I very much enjoy, our time together.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. Always happy to hang with you guys. David.
As always, thank you for having me on AK Talk with both you, Andy, and people in the live chat about America Horror Story Season 9. Can't wait for us to, on the very last stream, talk about how it all ends. And hell, if Brooke ends up being evil and then trolling us all, remember, I called it. I was calling it since day 1, but if I was wrong, AK was right. I've been overanalyzing everything. But yes, I am Fandom D. If you want to check out my channel, I do like several reactions to several shows, like HBO's Watchmen that's coming out a new episode tomorrow, and I believe AK is going to be joining me, Johnny, and Doris Winter on the next review. But I think that was going to be on Tuesday because I think she said she was going to be busy instead of Monday. I think so.
I thought last week was Tuesday.
No, it was this week is going to be the Tuesday.
Oh no. Okay, I may not be joining you then, or I may be late.
Okay.
I'll have to double check the schedule. Sorry. Go ahead. Finish your outro.
Yes, and what else is going to be? Then there's like Black Lightning, the last season of Supernatural, Legacies, and just constantly just waiting for AK to return to the 100, so I could probably do more reviews on that. Damn it! If only. Oh, did you hear that? Like, there's news. There's going to be like a prequel series to the 100, and they're going to be focusing on the Grounders.
Did they actually decide on that? Yo.
Yeah, but there's no Alexa in it though.
Honestly, it wouldn't, if they were only focusing on the Grounders, it wouldn't just be Lexa I was looking for. I would also be looking for Lincoln, for Indra, Ryder, for Anya, especially. Anya was taken out way too damn soon in the game. There's a lot of Grounders that I'm a big fan of that only ended up being small parts on the show. But if they are doing it, I will definitely stay tuned. Honestly, Lexa wasn't that prominent in the whole history of the Grounders, except for being the commander that has one, lasted the longest, and two, started the coalition. She brought peace to the lands. That's her greatest legacy. But that wasn't until much later in their history. So I would still watch if it was just on the Grounders and we didn't have to deal with the Man-In, Too Much, or Sky Crew. I'm here for it. I didn't hear about that. I will definitely be checking up on it. So thank you for that info.
Could they get away with making a Sky Crew only TV show?
Probably not, because
they
could. It wouldn't be that interesting. It would only be on the arc, and it would be more repetitive than like how The Walking Dead has gotten in previous seasons. I don't think it would be a good look. But with the Grounders, they could start with like the origins from Becca when the bombs first went off all over the earth, all the way up until the beginning of the 100 and the delinquents being sent to the ground. There's a lot of history that could be covered there. So that would be very interesting to me.
How many years was there between the bombs and the 100 coming?
Almost a century, about 98 years. Yes, and that's a lot of history and change in Grounder culture. I mean, the whole English language changed. The only people that speak English on the ground are the mountain people and warriors that are in the clans, because they all speak Trigadaslang, so they can speak around mountain men and not be understood.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's their whole culture is fascinating, and I would love to see who the Asjada people were before Naya came into leadership, because I feel like they weren't that horrible until Naya took over. She was just an evil bitch. Like they were always warlike, but they were never so bad as when Naya was in control. There's so much. And that's a whole other stream on itself. So I'm gonna stop right there. We're not even gonna get into that. But though, BBM, if you do want to talk, the 100 theories on what could be or what we thought happened in between Becca, Promhita to Primfire, or even just up until the 100 were launched and we got Sky Crew back on the ground, I'm down for it. So you let me know if you want to do it.
All right, I got to make a note on that. So then later, before
for sure. I'm down for it.
Prequel series starts, we got to do a stream.
Absolutely. I'm definitely down for it. Again, thank you to all my folks that came through in the chat. Thank you to my gentlemen that were on the panel with me. If you want to tune back in tomorrow night, again, we'll be doing some fan casting for House of the Dragon. And I want to know what you guys, who you guys would like to see play some of our favorite House Targaryen heroes. Some of them were villains also. I want to know who y'all think should portray them.
They should get the Skarsgårds.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but someone on my Twitter, when I posted my first picks were, of course, Aegon, Rhaenys, and Visenya.
Yeah.
And for Aegon, I wanted Gouliel Gaspard. He's a French model. He's actually who I wanted to play Rhaegar Targaryen because he's got that super pretty boy face with the model looks, but he's also rugged looking, so you know he's a warrior. Yeah. So I think he could play really well being Aegon if you just, give him them purple contacts and dye his hair red. Catherine Winnick is the only choice, I think, to play Visenya. If y'all have watched Vikings, you will know the reasons why. And I think we should, because a lot of the Targaryens do resemble each other through the years, I think it would be awesome for Emilia Clarke to come back and play Rhaenys. I think for her looks and for who the character that we know Rhaenys is, she would be great for that role. But beyond that, I haven't thought too much about who anyone else would be, like, King Jaehaerys and Alysanne, the best Targaryen king and queen that we have on the record. Maegor, Daemon, the Rogue Prince, Rhaenyra, one of my favorite Targaryen queens. I don't know who I would pick to play her. So think about that, you guys, and come back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Me, David, you'll see him back. Chrissy of Oldstones, John DeVelto will be diving in and see who could play these parts. And we want to hear from you in the chat as well.
Who would play Lisa Bonet?
Lisa Bonet. Lisa Bonet, I don't think would be a Targaryen. However, if we're casting the Black Pearl in her round of Targaryen bastards, I could see Lisa Bonet playing one of those parts. But again, we'll get to that tomorrow night. So again, thank you, chat. Thank you, panel, for being here. And we will catch you guys in the next one.